Start out. Hi, my name is Allison Chandra. This is my son, Ethan. He is 3, but almost what? Almost 4. And what kind of a birthday party are you going to have?
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur birthday party, which is important. These things are important to 3-year-olds. A little bit more important to my 3-year-old, maybe more than most 3-year-olds, is also his access to affordable health care. My husband and I and our older daughter lived and worked for almost 6 years on a charity hospital ship off the coast of West Africa before I got pregnant with Ethan. We came home for what we thought was a routine maternity leave, and we found out at a routine ultrasound that Ethan has heterotaxy syndrome. And what that means is that almost all of his internal organs are either malformed, misplaced, missing altogether, or multiplied. Ethan was born with 9 congenital heart defects. He has 2 left lungs, 5 or so spleens of dubious function. His stomach is on the right side, which is not the right side. It's supposed to be on the left. Liver, gallbladder, down the middle. I'm sure I'm missing a few things because we don't really focus on that too much anymore with him. We're more concerned with the names of dinosaurs and whether they were herbivores or carnivores, and right? So what are you holding right now? Is it a herbivore or a carnivore? Is it? Oh, we're gonna have some work to do later because that's a raptor. It wasn't a herbivore. So I worked as a nurse on board the ship. I'm a pediatric nurse. I actually used to work at Robert Wood Johnson in the Peds ICU there. Before going overseas. And I always said that having a medically fragile child is the one thing that I could never do. I was very sure of that. I was overseas when the Affordable Care Act was passed, and so when I came home to a completely new reality and a completely new life, I didn't have to worry. I never had to worry that someone was going to look at my child and look at the choice that I made to give him life and say, well, I'm sorry, he's actually too expensive. He was born a little bit too broken, and so we're not going to be able to let you continue fighting for his life. He had his first open heart surgery when he was 6 days old. He's had 4 since then. His most recent one was last February, and that's the one that took him from having half a heart to having a whole heart. And that's why he's a little bit dirty right now, because he was climbing trees before we got here, something that he would not have been able to do before. Before his surgeries, he would get exhausted climbing a flight of stairs, so exhausted that he would throw up. His oxygen saturations would drop into the 50s. Normal is 95 to 100. And I watched my little boy just turn blue all the time, anytime he did anything, anytime he ran, anytime he tried to keep up with his sister. But we weren't hopeless. We never had to look at him and say, there's a point where we're going to have to stop. There's a point where someone else is going to make the decision for you and say that that's enough. You've used too many resources, and we can't keep going. There's always been the next thing, the next step, the next fight for him. And he has faced it all. We had to work through a coping script to walk through the door today with him because we're coming into a hospital, and he knows what hospitals mean. He knows more than 3-year-olds should know. But we worked through it, right? And we came in, and we know that there's no pickies today and no doctors. So we're just here to talk, right? That's good. Ethan has a pacemaker. He's 100% pacemaker dependent, which kind of makes you like Iron Man, right? Yeah, because he has a battery, and it's pretty cool. There's so much about his life that costs money, that costs more money than the typical 3-year-old's life. Usually you're paying for dinosaur birthday parties and, you know, the odd new pair of shorts after he tears a hole in the other ones. We pay for open heart surgeries and pacemakers and medications that he takes every day and will take for the rest of his life. And without health insurance, we would not have access to any of this. I lived and I worked in an area of the world where people had no access to health insurance or health care at all. I know what it looks like. I've had children die in my hands because they had no access to health care before our ship sailed in. I know what it looks like. And the thought that our government is going to court to say that that should be the reality here is absolutely sickening to me. And I cannot believe that we're having this conversation still in 2018. I'm limited with the language that I can use right now and the tone that I can use, but understand, please, how furious I am that we have to do this, that we have to sit here at all and say, look at my kid, look at his face. Look at him and say, you fought this hard and you're not worth it anymore? You were born with these conditions and so you should never have had access to health care? His list of pre-existing conditions is longer than his arm. If he was born into the old system, I honestly, truly do not know whether he would be here today. Because of the ACA, and specifically because of the fact that no one has been able to say no to him because of his condition, we have been able to fight for the best care, for the best surgeons, the best doctors. And that's why he's here today.